That's not an exact placement, but it's real close. There's felt on the ends of these jaws. There's felt pad there. Keep it from scratching that. Now that gives me a cutout line for this spring. I hope. Alright, I did a little measuring and some ciphering, and the front of this thing is 100 thousandths wider, a tenth of an inch, than the back of this, where these side plates are. 100 thousandths bigger here than here, so it's 50 thousandths per side. So what I did, I slanted this thing in this vise to give me a 50 thousandths from here to here drop. And now I've marked me a permanent line right there so I can put it back. Now I'm going to cut this spring plate out. And then I'm going to take, and where I surface this parallel, I'm fixing to surface it on a slant. After I cut this out, because I've gone to a lot of trouble to mark this outline, I want to use that outline, and then I'll surface this off to drop my 50 thousandths after that. Now I've got my 50 thousandths taper on the outside of this. Flip it over and do the same thing on that side. And I'll set that back in there and try to see where else I might need to enlarge that spring cavity. Well, I got it milled out enough to get that big spring in there and drop it down to where some of this action is going in, some of the lock. I still don't know about where the up and down placement of the back of this thing is. It's absolutely a swag. That's just all it is to it. But I've got enough in there to get an outline of this, the outside outline of it, I think. At least a very cramped version of it. I'm going to get that in there so I can keep the rest of my milling inside that line. I really can't get around the back side of this thing to see it. If I take this out, I lose my pitch. Right now I've got it off on that 50 thousandths off a flat pitch. I think it's time to go home and get some supper and put this thing on hold for the night. This has got to go back, oh, maybe a 30-second back this way, which that's okay. That's all right. I can deal with that. I've got this sear compressed so much, I still can't see it down here in the hole where the triggers are. Can't see it and I can't feel it. So it's still got to go down a lot. I mean, it's got to go from here to there. That's 3/16 of an inch. More later. Okay, I've taken a little bit of a break since the last video, and I've had some treatments for a little bit of cancer I ran into, and some sort of an adverse reaction to some medication made my voice sound kind of gravelly. I don't know if that's going to go away or not, but in the meantime, I have put this side lock in place, and without a doubt, it's the finickiest, most difficult side lock I ever put in. Even though I had this pattern to go by. This pattern is pretty beat up and chewed out and been fixed and broken again. So it was a little bit of help, but this gun is made so small and delicate that there's just almost no room to cut out the places you need to cut it out and leave any wood in between here and here and here and here. There's just almost no wood left. Oddly enough, when I put this in the vise and shake the back end of it and wiggle it, it's fairly strong. It's stronger than I really would have imagined, with just no more than a 410 being shot in it, probably a 2.5 inch 410 at that. It'll probably hold up for many, many years, and this is a very, very strong piece of wood. This walnut is extremely tight grained right here. Having said all that, I went ahead and did this without the camera rolling because I was having to go so slowly and so meticulously to cut out what I had to cut out. There's no screws holding this in place. It's just sitting there. But I trimmed the excess away from this. I have plenty enough to sand, up against here and here. I have enough to sand. And I'm not going to sand it actually down all the way to the metal. I'm going to leave it a little bit proud. My issue was where the trigger blade touches the sear. That was the issue. And this sear, it goes in and then turns down. And when you assemble this thing, you have to poke it in at an angle. And you drag all this across this sharp edge right here. I don't know if it can be taken apart and put back together very many times without destroying something along here. It's going to have to be a really particular gunsmith that works on it. Now, so I just cut out a bunch of stuff for the main spring and mechanism on this side. I did that at the same time I did this one over here, and I tapered it because it's wider here than here. So I built all that taper into it. When I milled this off, now I've got to position the right side and the left side in the same place as far as up and down. Now the front is governed by where this touches up here. And I don't remember honestly how I got that. I think I took it off the old piece, but this doesn't actually touch and join this. It just butts up against it. So it could butt up against it here or there, and it almost doesn't matter. But it has to be in the right place to function and give me the proper clearance. Now I finally got this thing in and down far enough to where this hammer will cock and stay cocked, but it is a very precarious. You can touch this probably a half a pound, which is not near enough. So, and it may be that I can clean the inside mechanism where the sear and where the I don't even know what the notch is called, where it touches and makes contact. There's a little notch right here on the inside of where the hammer, you can see that thing engage. There's a little notch right there, and it may be that it's just gunked up. I have smoked it. I smoked this in here many times in doing this. So when that sear presses and that disengages, your hammer fires. So maybe it just needs to be cleaned. Of course, like as always, whenever I get done working on one, I'll soak it in kerosene and toothbrush and compressed air and clean everything out. You can see from this angle that the sear is down below this edge. You can't just put this thing straight in there. You have to put it in and scoot it down. It's a soup sandwich. It really is. So now that I've got this one done, and I know it can be done, I'm going to record putting this one in. Now to get my spacing correct, and this is a perpendicular line to this way. It's flat right there. It's flat where I bandsawed it. I measured from here on a tangent to that, straight down to the middle of that hole. And then I made another similar mark here, straight down it, and this is the mark where that center of that hole is. So that gives me a reference on where to locate this plate. That gives me a reference on where it goes this way. They have to be straight across from each other this way. The front is dictated by these marks that I made on this piece of tape. That's where the front touches. That's where it touches right there. So, and that's not an exact science, but it's close enough. So here we go. I'm going to try to do this on camera this time.